Hey guys, I'm Beth and this is Read Remark. I'm trying something a little bit different for this wrap-up video because I have been super short on time this month, so I'm hoping that this is a way I can still get my books out there, but kind of do them piece by piece as I finish them as opposed to all together in one big video. So this is going to be a little bit more informal. We'll just see how it goes. So the first book I want to talk about is The Fruit of the Drunken Tree by Ingrid Rojas Contreras. This is a book that I'm reading as part of the booktube prize. I have to admit, at first I was a little bit, it was kind of a slow start for me. It took a little bit for me to get into it, but once I did, it was really, really grabbing. It was grabbing. So it's a fictional story set against a real-life backdrop. It's in Bogota in the time that Pablo Escobar was really having his big reign of terror. It was not a safe place. Not a safe place at all. And so this is the backdrop of the world in which these two girls live in. We have different cultural elements. There's Chula, who lives in a middle-class gated neighborhood, which is pretty nice for that area. And then they have their maid, Patrona, 13 years old, not a good family situation. They're very poor. Her little brother has been killed by drug lords as well. And so Patrona comes to be a maid for for Chula and her family, and just all sorts of things happen. I listened afterwards to an interview that the author did on a podcast. I'll link to it in the description, in which she talks about surviving survival and how difficult that can be. So when you think about Patrona, there are a lot of really difficult things that she has survived in her life, and you would think that once you survive past that big horrible thing, that it should just get easier from there. You just got to get past that horrible thing and then it's easy street. But no, she has to survive having survived. Sometimes what's waiting on the other side of it is more horribleness, and it's just heartbreaking to think about, especially for someone in her situation. I don't know that there's a way out for her. I am sitting here on a park bench, hoping that I am not that creepy lady who likes to sit on park benches and talk to the camera. But nonetheless, here I am. I'm talking about Southern Lady Code by Helen Ellis. This is a collection of nonfiction essays by Helen Ellis about what it is to be a Southern lady living in New York. I had previously reviewed very positively her previous book, American Housewife. That is a collection of fictional stories about these women who may seem sweet and demure on the outside, but they might have like a butcher knife tucked into their chignon, or the pearls might be filled with strychnine where they are going to poison you in your sleep. Good stuff. I enjoyed it a lot. Southern Lady Code is a lot more gentle, I would say. You don't really fear these women so much. It's more about Helen Ellis herself and her upbringing and what it's like to be a proper lady. Some of the stuff is almost old-fashioned-ish, like how to be a good wife, how to go on The Bachelor and not seem desperate, but a lot of it is very funny, tongue-in-cheek, witty. I think that Helen Ellis would be a great friend or a great person to have at a dinner party. A fount of fun. The main thing that this book did for me was make me just so nostalgic for the Southern woman in my own life, my grandmere. She was fabulous. She used to go get her hairdo at the stylist once a week, have it perfectly curled, and then very carefully put on a pink hairnet every night and sleep just, you know, very carefully so that she could just wake up and kind of finger her curls back into place. Or she would go on these long road trips with my sister and I during the summer of our childhoods in search of the perfect watermelon stand on the side of the road. We took a lot of detours looking for perfect watermelons, and she succeeded. So anyway, Southern Lady Code by Helen Ellis. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It made me so nostalgic for my grandmere, and just mad respect to all the ladies out there who are able to have those steel cores and still seem ladylike. I haven't really mastered the whole ladylike part of that. Okay, you're catching me with terrible, terrible hair. I haven't tamed it yet, but I feel so passionately about books that these are the sacrifices that I make for you. So I want to talk next about The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. She also wrote another book called The Wedding Date, and here are some things I like about her books. Number one is I like that she has a diverse cast of characters, and it isn't like that diversity is the star of the show. So it's not like a token person who is like the African American friend and that's all her identity is. It's not the case at all. I also like that it features people who are grown adults. They're already successful, they're already individualistic, they have their own groups of friends, they have their own lives. They don't complete each other, rather they complement each other. Here is what I didn't care for so much about that book, and that is that I didn't quite understand what made Nicole and Carlos's story special or even book-worthy. So it's the classic conflict of neither of them is ready to commit. They have a great time getting to know each other, but kind of freak out when the commitment stuff happens. And that's the whole crux of the issue. There's no real conflict there. I don't need unnecessary drama. I think that's another plus in Jasmine Guillory's favor. But I think there wasn't enough conflict here to make The Proposal book-worthy. Was it an enjoyable ride with these two characters? Sure, yeah, it was. I don't know that it was one that we had to go on, though. I also want to talk to you guys about The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. This was an art I received from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review, which this is. This book was really interesting and really good. It's kind of set up as one of those domestic thrillers, but to me, more than that, it was a book about relationships, specifically the relationship between a mother-in-law and her daughter-in-law. So, of course, they couldn't be more opposite from one another. Now, at some point, pretty early on, we find out that the mother-in-law has been killed, and so we're figuring out what led up to that, who did it. And of course, throughout the telling of the story, the shadow of doubt is cast upon every single one of the characters. Okay, possible spoiler alert. The one thing that I kind of had an issue with was the crazy-making hormones surrounding trying to conceive a baby. So I've kind of bemoaned this in other books before, such as Lies She Told, where it seems like the entire plot is built around this woman and how insane she is from either having just given birth or trying to conceive, and it's almost as if the very act of being a woman and having womanly hormones turns you into a crazy, evil harpy. Of course, I'm going to have a problem with that. At the same time, sometimes it kind of does. Sally Hepworth, in fact, illustrates this fact or this facet of motherhood and life perfectly in her other book, The Family Next Door, in which one of the mothers deals with postpartum psychosis. It's a real affliction. So I'm kind of conflicted over it. I don't know if it's a problem in my mind or not. I'm still kind of working through how I officially feel on that, but I just get a little bit when just the very act of being a woman is what makes you crazy and evil, and it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. However, having said all that, overall, the book I think is very good, very effectively told. Of course, feel free to check out my booktube videos that I have done throughout the month as well, including James Tiptree Jr.'s The Screwfly Solution. Fascinating sci-fi author. And then also the review of The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. This was another one that I felt conflicted by. Thank you so much for bearing with me on this sort of fragmented patchwork quilt of a video. I really appreciate it, and I will check you all out next time. Thanks again. Bye.